Hi. Um, Today I will be talking about physician-assisted suicide. Not allowing the person the right to go out on their own terms is highly immoral and honestly cruel. Prolonging the period of suffering of a disease does no good whatsoever. That's why physician-assisted suicide is a human right. But don't be confused. Self-inflicted suicide is unacceptable. Self-suicide leaves the family, friends, and community with many sorrowful unanswered questions. PASS allows you to properly put your affairs in order before the deed is done, and it allows those who have a connection to the deceased peace of mind, knowing that they were not responsible for the incident and can emotionally prepare for it. I will explain why self-suicide is never the answer. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. Don't be afraid to call. You will understand what PAD and PASS are and why they're responsible choices. Let me start out by making this very clear. Self-inflicted suicide is unacceptable because it does not just affect the deceased, it affects a whole community. Before we get into it, let me share the difference. Yes, there is actually a difference between physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia. Physician-assisted suicide is when the patient does the deed, takes a pill or a shot. Physician-assisted dying or euthanasia, PAD, is when the doctor does the deed because the patient is unable to do so. Some may argue that signing a document giving the doctor the right to press the plunger makes it so the patient doesn't have a choice. In both cases of PAD and PASS, there is a choice up until the needle is stuck and the plunger is pushed, according to On the Difference 1998. Many physical and psychiatric evaluations must be arranged for approval of this decision. Also, physicians are not required to assist. Doctors don't want to help, they don't have to. An additional means of approval depends on the death with dignity law in the state of residency. As of 2020, only California, Colorado, Hawaii, Montana, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington allow it, which is part of the reason I'm speaking here today. According to the Death with Dignity Act 2020. It needs to be legal in all 50 states, hands down. Someone that does not want to pass and be remembered as the one in grave pain, in the hospital, in a coma, whatever horrible state that they're going to succumb to, has every right to go out on their own terms. When someone is unbearably suffering and will do so until their days are numbered, it's just not okay to wrench away their rights to pass peacefully when they choose to do so. Some may claim this next comparison is a poor one, but when our beloved pets are in great pain, illness, close to death, we don't let them wallow in agony. We put them to sleep. Though it's a very sad occasion, it takes away their pain and gives them peace. That being said, another reason that families put their pets to sleep, this is going to sound really cold, but finances. And switching over to people again here, medical bills aren't cheap. And if they're not surmounting to a better and longer quality of life, then, the suffering may not want to leave behind a big debt that still has to be paid. Also, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there's a shortage of valuable equipment, like ventilators or beds even. The average cost of an ICU bed per night is $1,107 according to Health Leaders Media 2020. With those statistics, I'd like to make a PSA. Whether you are 82 or 18, have a plan in place. God forbid something happens when you're not going to make it. Your loved ones will not have to make tough decisions such as if and when to unplug life support, whether to bury, cremate, or donate your body to science. Passing away is never an easy topic to think on, but it is a necessary one to discuss and to consider. We never know when our time is going to be up. Moving away from the colder end of it, let's talk about the ripples in the pond after the stone has been splashed. If it is self-inflicted, The wound that it causes those close to the deceased does not heal, and there's obviously a terrible shock that comes with the news. For starters, someone's got to find the body. Do you really want to give someone that memory? When someone chooses pass, there is room for preparation. Choosing pass eliminates that feeling of responsibility people have, especially those close to the deceased. Like, what did I do to make them do this? What could I have done or done differently? Why didn't I see the signs? That heaps up to a lot of unresolved guilt. Whether loved ones accept or reject the plan, it gives time and rise to communication, which can help with the coping. I know I just threw a ton of information at you regarding a pretty heavy subject, but I hope it sinks in, and whoever's listening to this sees the importance of allowing people the right to pass when they want to pass. Nobody should have to suffer in agony as their body gives into some terminal illness while their soul still remains inside. Families and communities should not be left in the dark about one's passing. It's unfair. And with the rising prices of healthcare, is it really worth living in a vegetative state? I apologize, my conclusion's still kind of working. It's hard to comfortably wrap up something like this, but I guess what I can say is it's always a good idea to be prepared. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.